one of the reasons you might feel like you're not able to accomplish the goals you want to accomplish, or you feel like you make 10 steps forward and then 8 steps back, I think it's a matter of the way we perceive progress, right? One of the words that I keep hearing in modern day like goal setting and personal development is transformation. And personally, I don't think transformation is a bad word, but I think it's somehow, for some of us, might tell our brains that we have to be someone completely different. I was talking to a girlfriend the other day, and we were talking about how some people, they want to grow, they want to develop themselves, but they try to make a major transformation rather than just evolve, right? And here's my perception on the difference between transformation and evolve. Transformation, not that it necessarily means this, but it can be subconsciously perceived by yourself that I have to be someone completely different, right? And what that means is that you may end up making really radical decisions, going completely from left to right as opposed to somewhere in the middle, right? Completely like eradicating people, places, and things out of your life. Now, depending on your life, I'm not saying that's a bad thing. In some cases, some people's lives, they really do need to start with a complete clean slate. But I think for most people, I think if you look at accomplishing your goals or developing yourself or just getting to a place in life where you want to be, if you look at it from a place of evolving rather than transformation, that might be a bit more palatable, right? Because evolving, how I perceive it at least, is where we're not completely transforming who we are. We're just keeping the good and removing the parts that's no longer working, right? And I think that also gives honor and respect to the parts of us that maybe there were certain parts of us that did work for us at certain phases in our lives, but we no longer need, right? So that is evolving. It's like you're growing from one to the next, but you're not completely transforming. You know, if you look at like a flower when it's a bud and then it blooms, right? It's still that flower. It still has the stem and the leaf. It's just opened up now. It's evolved into a blossom flower, right? Whereas if you look at, say, a caterpillar, right, that transformed into a butterfly. It looks completely different, right? Again, neither one of these words are wrong, but I realize, and I get a lot of questions about like just getting to the next phase in your life and developing yourself. And I think sometimes the perception of transformation, and it could even put people in depression. You know, I've seen where people have like completely, like, say for example with spirituality, like they become super religious and they drop everybody and they just, you know, like isolate. And again, everyone's different. Depends. Some people really do. And if this is you, so this may not apply to you. You know, there's some people who really live in a toxic environment, toxic family members, toxic friends. Like they just need to pick up their bags and move to a whole nother state or country or whatever, right? But those are like extreme cases, right? So I just wanted to kind of offer that with the questions that I've been getting about, you know, like feeling like you're making progress, but then you're falling back. And I think sometimes it might feel like too much pressure. You don't have to completely be a whole new person. There are good parts to you. There are good parts that are working for you. There are some parts that maybe are not working now, but worked in the past. And it doesn't mean you necessarily have to transform. Transform all of that. But you just have to kind of tweak it to how your life is now, you know? There was a time in my life, for those of you who know my background story, like I'm from New Jersey. My parents are West Indian. During my childhood, you know, we lived between both places. And there was a phase where I went to a neighborhood that I was not used to, right? It was considered like the hood, right? And I was not used to that type of area, but I adjusted as a teenager. Of course, you know, I felt fine, you know, but there were certain characteristics or certain like skills I had to develop to be able to function in an environment like that, an environment that I was not used to. And then once I, you know, moved and was in a different environment, I just got a new car holder. Anyway, and I was in a new, different environment. I had to realize that was not, there were certain things there that I didn't need anymore, right? So just think about that. Just think about like how much pressure are you putting on yourself, which is why it might be hard to accomplish some of your goals. It's dark now. Anyway, have a blessed day. Talk to you tomorrow.